Can Tesla remove the brake pedal? And more importantly, would you want them to? That's what we're going to be looking at in this video. All input is error. If you have to do something the car could have done already, that should be taken care of. The software should do it. That's a direct quote from Elon Musk at the launch event of the brand new Model S Plaid, where they've actually removed the gear selector. Now the AI and the software in the car is going to determine whether you're going to go forwards or backwards and then put you in the appropriate gear. Well, the brake pedal is something I have to push, and we know from software through autopilot and the emergency assist features that the software can do that. So is the brake pedal the next thing to go, or is it already redundant? I'm going to be finding out as I try to drive around without any brakes. One pedal driving is a term you've probably heard of if you're interested in electric cars, and it's where you take your foot off the accelerator, regen braking kicks in and puts power back into the battery by the fact the wheels are turning on the road. A bit like the alternator did in a combustion car to keep the 12-volt battery charged. As we haven't invented perpetual motion yet, there are some consequences and it slows down the car. So you find you rarely actually touch the brake pedal when you're driving an electric car because you just lift your foot off the accelerator and then it slows to a stop naturally on its own. Turns out as well, it's pretty key at keeping the efficiency of your Model 3 as high as possible. So I'll be measuring exactly how much power we generate from regen braking alone and compare it to a run where I set regen braking to low and try and use the brake as often as possible. I'll display that at the end of the video. So what's missing already? Well, look around. Tesla designed a really minimalist interior. I'm not going to lie, most of it's gone already. I'll show you exactly what's missing in a second. But do we really want them to remove the brake pedal? Lights, windscreen wipers, handbrake, full beam, all been replaced with software already. Now you can access them manually through the screen, a bit like the gear selector on the Model S Plaid, but generally they're hidden away in all the features. Some things work very slick, like the auto lights, great. Others need a few little tweaks. The wipers occasionally need some intervention, and the auto high beam is just annoying. I don't know if anyone else has any luck with that, but it just doesn't seem to work for me at the minute. Bonus with all these features, they can be updated over software to get improvements. What I really like is the fact that if I just pull up, open my door, the car automatically goes into park. And generally I find on a daily basis, I don't mind that all these features are automatic. Do I think I'd have been happy with the gear selector on the Model S Plaid being taken away? I'm not too sure, but they're clearly very confident because they haven't even given it an option. So there's no gear stick at all on the Model S Plaid. To do it manually, you can slide up and down on the screen here, but if it doesn't work very well, that's just going to be annoying. Think about it, all the stuff that's already missing is missing for a reason, and that's because generally the software can do it already. Now Tesla's goal is to create a full self-driving car, and each removal of an item is one step closer to that. And if they do truly create a full self-driving car, we're not going to have to provide any input. So removal of the brake pedal in the near future is probably quite feasible. But what if we do need to brake? Well, the answer is probably you won't need to soon. Tesla released safety data on their autopilot systems, all their safety features, and you find when autopilot's engaged, you'll get one accident around every 4 million miles. When just the safety feature is engaged, you get an accident every 2 million miles. When it's just us humans in control, on average, and this is American data, you get an accident about every 1 in 484,000 miles. Tesla engineers get billions and billions of miles of data input from how drivers behave in dynamic situations. They take that on board, input that to the safety features, and then update your software to try and make your car more and more safe as you drive around. Don't get me wrong, Teslas do crash, but if they're going to crash 10 more times when we're in control versus Tesla Autopilot, is now the time to be taking that control away. Teslas already have several active safety features, which I'll come on to in a second. So how often do you actually use the brake pedal if you're a Tesla Model 3 owner? Well, Tesla owners out there, I'm sure you can back me up on this one. The answer is very little. As long as you've got really good forward vision and situational awareness, you can take your foot off the accelerator well in advance, and then regen braking is going to slow you down to a stop. Now, when I bought my Model 3, it didn't actually bring you to a complete stop, it just slowed you down, and then you always had to just touch the brake pedal. But thankfully, through a software update, they actually changed it so one pedal driving was truly possible, and when you took your foot off the accelerator, it slowed you down all the way till a stop. And you know what? If you approach driving an electric car like this, not only will you probably never have to change your brake disc, Tesla have told me that I can expect to change my brake disc every 80 to 120,000 miles, but you're also going to get way better efficiency out your Model 3 and far better range. To see just how much, I've plugged in my diagnostic tool again, and we're going to see just how much free electricity regen braking creates, and I'll convert that into miles so we can see how many free miles I got at the end of the video. So whilst I talk about some of the safety features, let's get the first run underway where I'll be using the brake pedal as much as possible. I've set the regen braking to low and I've set the stopping mode to roll, whereas normally I'd have that set to standard and then hold. Now, if you set the stopping mode to roll, basically it behaves a bit like a combustion car. So when you take your foot off the accelerator, it will just carry on rolling as opposed to slowing to a stop. Whereas if you set it to hold, it maximizes your regen capability and therefore your car comes to a complete stop. Oh my God, this feels weird. I have to actually use the brake pedal for once at a junction, whereas normally it would just stop on its own. I'll be doing about a 10-mile loop. And on that loop, I'll be covering mostly urban roads, but then we'll cover off some country roads and some faster A roads as well. Anyway, let's talk about some of the safety features. And they've all gone up in the air a little bit, especially in America, because Tesla has actually removed the radar from American-made Model 3s and Model Ys now. And that's because they've determined that their Tesla Vision system, which is based on cameras, is actually better at detecting what's in front of it than the radar is. So all the safety features have not got their ratings that they normally have, and some have been removed already, that they'll get added with future software updates. But mostly the safety features that you've got on a Model 3 are that you've got an automatic emergency braking assist, which will slow you down if it thinks it's going to hit something and try and mitigate the impact. So it won't stop you completely, but the idea is you'll be slower when you hit something. You've then also got forward collision warning, which highlights on the screen and beeps at you ferociously if it looks like you're going to hit something in front of you, whether that be a pedestrian or another car. You've then also got blind spot collision warning, so if you're going to pull out, it notices something's in your way. So generally, Tesla have the emergency braking areas pretty covered off, especially when they get those software updates to adapt for their Tesla Vision system and the replacement of the radar. So what about non-emergency braking then? Well, I swear I rarely, if ever, touch my brake pedal when I'm driving around in my Model 3, and that's why having to brake now is so bizarre. Sometimes I will hover over the brake pedal just in case I've misjudged it, but generally the regen braking just takes care of it. The hardest time I've found is when you're on a dual carriageway or you're on a fast A road and you need to take a junction, because then it's a lot harder to judge it at the speeds that you're traveling at. But even then, 9 times out of 10, you get it right. What I have found will catch me out sometimes though is the amount of regen braking you get will vary, and it depends on the condition of your battery. So let's say you're just setting off in the middle of winter and it's really cold, your battery won't take on as much charge, which means your regen will be limited, which means your braking effect will be similarly limited. Now, if your car is fully charged as well, say 100%, you get no regen braking because it can't put in any more energy, and then again that will catch you out. If you're new to Teslas or not familiar, there's a line on the display screen that will highlight black when you're accelerating on the right hand side, and then when you're braking and putting regen in, it goes green. Now, the line when it's not active at all is grey, and then the dashed part of the grey line indicates when your regen braking is limited. So ideally, you want a full solid grey line on the left, but that's only going to happen if your car's nice and warm. The maximum amount your Model 3 can take on board, if it's in prime condition, is 85 kilowatts, and that's from regen braking alone. Now, my home charger will only put on 3.7 kilowatts, so that's pretty mental that it can charge that much from regen braking alone, and you can see why it's so important to making the efficiency of the Model 3 brilliant and getting as much energy as you can out of it. Right, that's that loop complete. I did about 12.6 miles, so a little bit further than I'd anticipated, and created exactly 1 kilowatt hour of electricity, which converts to about 4 miles or thereabouts. But the interesting figure, I think, here is that if you look at the history, over the 14,000 miles that I've driven in the 2 years I've owned the Tesla Model 3, I've actually created 1,164 kilowatt hours of regen braking alone, which means I've travelled about 4,500 miles on electricity the car's generated for itself. Pretty impressive. Anyway, let's go on with the next loop where I'm putting it back into standard mode, and then the stopping mode is going to be put to hold to really maximise that regen braking. Let's see how we get on. So if it happened that the next Tesla Model 3 came out without a brake pedal, how would you feel about it? Because if you think of what we're working towards, which is a fully autonomous self-driving Tesla Model 3, the brake pedal is going to be redundant. Now, when I'm driving with autopilot, I'm expecting the Model 3 to brake for me, and it does a very good job, even though it's not technically designed for like city driving and things like that. So if you wanted to get rid of the brake pedal, all you need to do is have autopilot running in the background, whether you had autopilot engaged or not. How would you feel about it if autopilot took over the braking for you? Now don't get me wrong, when autopilot's engaged, I'm always ready to intervene just in case, but I find I've probably never had to intervene when autopilot's engaged to put the brakes on. If anything, it's too sensitive. Tesla owners can back me up here. I find I generally drive with my foot over the accelerator rather than the brake. Us owners have invented the term called phantom braking, which is when your Model 3 sees something in front of it it thinks it should brake for and slams on the brakes. If anything, it's more likely to cause an accident by someone going into the back of you. And that's why I generally hover with my foot over the accelerator rather than the brake pedal. So I'm almost home now. We've not got much further to go in the journey. So have I touched the brake pedal at all on this loop? Well, hand on heart, I can say I haven't touched it once. I've slowed down purely on regen braking. So would I want it removed? Well, I've driven this loop and it's mainly, as I said, urban, bit of single carriageway, bit of dual carriageway. And what I've found is you have to pay way more attention if you're using regen braking alone to slow yourself down. So there's a few occasions when a car was almost starting to reverse out, a pedestrian was about to step out, managed to take my foot off in advance, and it did come to a stop. But yeah, I had to look a lot further ahead. And there was a few occasions when the early forward collision system kicked in and highlighted on the screen that I might hit a car, so I had to hover over the brake, but thankfully I didn't. But that just gives me faith that the safety features are quite good at predicting when you're going to crash into stuff. So therefore it could brake if you needed to, and then you program the software to do that. Now, autopilot, from experience, is pretty decent at slowing you down and braking you. If anything, it's a bit heavy-footed, but fingers crossed with Tesla Vision and future software updates, that will get improved. So I know autopilot is very good at stopping you as well. Now, the other benefit of driving without a brake pedal is the fact you get extra regen braking. Now, I'm almost home. We'll have a look at exactly how much free electricity and how many extra miles I've added on the car through regen braking alone. So that loop was 12.8 miles. I'm not quite sure why there was a difference in the mileage because I drove exactly the same route. But we generated 1.2 kilowatt hours of electricity through regen alone, which converts to about 5 miles. Now I know 200 watts doesn't sound much, so let's put it into context. The loop where we had regen braking engaged, we got 194 watt hours per mile, which is about 173 mpg equivalent. Compare that to the loop where we're using the brakes as much as possible and not regen, we got watt hours per mile of 228, which converts to 148 mpge. So if you compare the two, actually it makes quite a dramatic effect on the efficiency, even though it's only 200 watts. But remember, that was only over 12 miles or so. So the good news, I think, to take from that is that A, using regen increases your efficiency massively, but B, even if you're trying not to use regen braking, the Model 3 is great at generating free electricity for you. Not bad. Taking all that into consideration, can Tesla remove the brake pedal? I think they can. But the question is, would I want them to? And I honestly don't know, because I really like having that safety net of being able to put my foot on the brake if I need to. But then looking at the rest of the argument, the software can do it. It goes back to that initial quote at the start. If the software can do it, then the function is redundant. I'll be really interested to see what you guys think in the comments. So feel free to throw your thoughts into the debate, and we'll see how we get on in the conclusion at the end of it. If you think about what we're working towards a fully self-driving car. The brake pedal has got to go at some point. It's just, are we ready for it? Who knows? Any thumbs up are greatly appreciated if you enjoyed watching that, because that helps get the video promoted and also the channel. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. To quickly change the temperature of your Model 3 inside by 1.5 degrees, simply say I'm cold or I'm hot through the voice command.